This is such an interesting piece. Where did you find it? Oh, I picked it up at a little boutique downtown. Isn't it unique? That's a great point. How do you think we can implement this idea? I think we should start by...
What happens when a Hollywood A-lister sits down for what should be a routine chat show appearance, only to find herself facing accusations that cut deeper than any movie role she's ever played? Today, we're diving into the explosive moment when Salma Hayek walked off the Kelly Clarkson show after a fiery exchange that left everyone in the studio stunned. The show had been running smoothly that Tuesday afternoon. The audience buzzed with excitement as they waited for the next guest, Academy Award-nominated actress Salma Hayek, there to discuss her latest film project. Kelly Clarkson, known for her warm interviewing style and genuine rapport with guests, seemed relaxed as she reviewed her notes during the commercial break. Salma, elegant in a deep emerald dress that highlighted her striking features, appeared calm. But there was something in her eyes, an alertness, a subtle guardedness that only those who knew her well might have noticed. She had been in the industry long enough to handle any interview with grace. But today, something felt different. And we're back with the incredible Salma Hayek, Kelly announced brightly as the cameras rolled. Salma, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for having me, Kelly, Salma replied, her melodic accent as captivating as ever. Kelly began the interview with enthusiasm. So let's talk about your new film. You're playing a character who's dealing with some pretty heavy themes about identity and belonging. How did you connect with this role? Salma's face lit up as she spoke. You know, Kelly, I think every actor brings pieces of themselves to every character they play. This woman, she's struggling with where she belongs, wondering if she's truly accepted in spaces she's worked so hard to enter. That must resonate with you personally, Kelly responded. Her tone shifted slightly, introducing an edge that made Salma's shoulders stiffen ever so slightly. In what way do you mean? Salma asked, still smiling but now more focused. Kelly glanced down at her cards, then looked back up. Well, you've talked before about feeling like you had to work twice as hard to prove yourself in Hollywood, about facing certain challenges because of your background. The studio grew quiet. Even the audience sensed a change in the air. Salma's publicist, seated in the front row, looked up from her phone, frowning. I think anyone coming from a different culture faces adjustments when they move to a new country, Salma replied carefully. But I've been very fortunate in my career. Kelly didn't let it go. But there have been some specific incidents, haven't there? Reports of conflicts on film sets, tensions with directors and producers. Salma's composure held, but her jaw tightened. Kelly, I'm not sure what you're referring to specifically, but I've always maintained professional relationships with everyone I've worked with. Even with Marcus Davidson? Kelly asked, naming a Hollywood producer known for his temper and controversial remarks. The question hung in the air like a challenge. Salma's eyes flashed, though her voice stayed measured. I've worked with Marcus on 2 films. Our working relationship was professional. But wasn't there an incident during the filming of Desert Moon where you reportedly had a heated argument with him in front of the crew? Kelly continued, her tone now resembling a prosecutor's. Salma straightened in her chair. Kelly, I'm wondering why we're focusing on rumors and gossip instead of discussing my current project. Which is why I understood I was here today. The audience was completely silent. In the control room, producers gestured frantically, debating whether to cut to commercial or let the moment play out. I'm just trying to get to the truth, Kelly said, her voice rising slightly. There have been multiple reports over the years about your behavior on set, about demands you've made, conflicts with actors and crew members. My behavior? Salma repeated quietly, her voice now low and dangerous. Kelly, what exactly are you accusing me of? I'm not accusing you of anything, Kelly said quickly, though she pressed on. I'm asking about patterns that seem to follow you from project to project. Sources have mentioned difficulties, tensions, what some have even called devil-like behavior. The words hit Salma like a slap. The years of careful composure she had mastered in Hollywood began to crack. Devil-like behavior? She repeated slowly, tasting the words. Look, Salma, I respect you as an artist, Kelly continued, unaware of how deeply her words were cutting. But there's been talk in the industry, people saying that success might have changed you, that you've become difficult to work with. Salma's eyes blazed. Difficult to work with, she said, her voice now filled with restrained fury. Kelly, do you realize what you're saying to me right now? Kelly seemed to realize she had gone too far, but instead of backing down, she leaned in. Salma, I'm just reporting what's been said in the industry. Multiple sources have... And that's when Salma rose from her chair, her expression unreadable, but her silence deafening. The audience gasped as she removed her mic and calmly walked off set, leaving Kelly speechless and the studio in stunned silence. Before leaving, Salma turned back to Kelly. Let me ask you something, Kelly, she said evenly. When a male actor stands up for his vision, fights for his character, demands excellence from his fellow performers, what do they call him? Kelly shifted uncomfortably in her seat, suddenly aware that the interview had taken a turn she hadn't anticipated. Salma, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to say. No, Kelly, Salma said firmly. I understand perfectly. And with that, she walked off stage, leaving behind one of the most unforgettable moments in daytime television history. Salma interrupted, her voice rising but maintaining its controlled elegance. When a man does it, he's passionate, dedicated, a perfectionist. But when I do it, when any woman does it, especially a woman who looks like me, speaks like me, comes from where I come from, I'm difficult. I'm a diva. The audience sat in stunned silence, some shifting uneasily in their seats. This was not the light, friendly interview they had expected. That's not what I meant, Kelly protested, though her voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? Salma challenged, stepping closer to Kelly's chair. Tell me, Kelly, have you ever asked a male actor about being difficult? Have you ever sat across from Russell Crowe, Christian Bale, any of the men famous for their intensity on set, and asked them about diva behavior? Kelly's mouth opened and closed, searching for words that wouldn't come. The control room was in chaos, producers unsure whether to cut the feed or let the confrontation play out. You want to talk about Marcus Davidson? Salma continued, her voice gaining strength with every word. Let me tell you about Marcus Davidson. He told me, in front of a room full of people, that maybe I should stick to playing maids and mistresses because that's what audiences expect from someone like me. Gasps rippled through the studio. Kelly's face went pale. And when I told him that was unacceptable, Salma went on, when I stood up for myself and for every Latina actress who's had to fight against those stereotypes, I became difficult. When I demanded the same respect given to my white colleagues, I became a diva. Salma, I had no idea, Kelly said weakly. You had no idea because you didn't bother to find out the truth, Salma shot back. You took gossip, rumors, whispers from people who were angry that I refused to stay in the box they built for me. And you decided to ambush me with them on national television. I wasn't trying to ambush you, Kelly protested. I was trying to have an honest conversation about the challenges women face in Hollywood. By perpetuating those exact challenges? Salma's laugh was sharp, bitter. Kelly, do you see the irony here? You're doing exactly what this industry has done to me for 20 years. You're taking my strength and calling it a flaw. The tension in the studio was palpable. Camera operators hesitated, unsure where to focus, caught between professional duty and the raw human drama unfolding before them. I've worked with some of the most demanding directors in the business, Salma said, her voice steady with the authority of someone who had earned her place through sheer determination. I've given everything to my craft. I learned English, studied acting, fought for roles that showed the complexity and beauty of my culture, instead of the stereotypes Hollywood loves to perpetuate. And that's admirable, Kelly interjected, desperate to find common ground. Admirable? Salma's eyebrows shot up. Kelly, it shouldn't be admirable. It should be expected. Every actor should fight for their craft. Every person should stand up for their dignity. The fact that when I do it, it's seen as problematic, that tells you everything you need to know about the real problem here. Kelly's producers were frantically signaling from the control room, but she seemed frozen, realizing the magnitude of what was happening. You want to know about conflicts on set? Salma asked, turning her gaze back toward the cameras as the room fell completely silent. Her voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Let me tell you about real conflicts, like when a director told me to lose my accent because it wasn't sexy enough. Like when a producer suggested I should be grateful for any role because there weren't many opportunities for someone like me, like when I was told that speaking up about these things would hurt my career. I'm sorry, Kelly said quietly, and for the first time, her apology sounded genuine. I can see that I've hurt you. That wasn't my intention. Your intention doesn't matter, Kelly, Salma replied, her tone calm but cutting. Impact matters, and the impact of what you've done here today is that you've given credibility to every person who's ever tried to diminish my accomplishments by calling me difficult. The studio fell into complete silence. Even the camera operators seemed to hold their breath. But here's what I want your audience to understand, Salma said, turning toward the cameras. Being difficult has never stopped me. It's never made me compromise my standards or accept less than I deserve, and it never will. Kelly sat motionless as Salma's words hung in the air. The cameras captured every nuance, the raw emotion, the authenticity that no script could have produced. But instead of letting the powerful moment stand, Kelly made a choice that changed everything. Salma, I appreciate your passion, she said, her voice taking on a patronizing tone that made several audience members visibly cringe. But I think you might be overreacting to some legitimate industry concerns. The words hit Salma like a physical blow. Her eyes widened in disbelief. The audience collectively held its breath, sensing that something irreversible was about to happen. Overreacting? She repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Kelly, did you just tell me I'm overreacting to decades of discrimination and prejudice? Kelly realized her mistake immediately, but it was too late. "No, that's not what I meant," she stammered. "I just think that maybe some of these situations could have been handled differently." "How?" Salma demanded, her composure finally cracking. "How should I have handled being told I wasn't American enough for leading roles, but too educated for the stereotypical parts they wanted to give me? How should I have handled being passed over for roles that went to actresses with half my experience, but the right look, the right accent, the right connections? I don't know," Kelly admitted softly. But she couldn't stop herself from adding, "Maybe working with people instead of against them might have led to better outcomes." The studio erupted in a low murmur of shock. Even the production assistants looked horrified at what their host had just said. Salma stared at Kelly for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was deadly calm. "Working with people," she repeated slowly. "You mean compromising my integrity? Accepting less than I'm worth? Smiling when I'm being disrespected? Staying quiet when I witness injustice? That's what you call working with people?" "That's not what I said," Kelly protested weakly. "It's exactly what you said," Salma shot back. "You're telling me that standing up for myself, for my worth, for my dignity is the problem. You're telling me that the solution to discrimination is for me to be more accommodating to the people discriminating against me." Kelly tried to interrupt, but Salma held up her hand. "Let me finish," she said with an authority that commanded absolute silence. "You invited me here under the pretense of discussing my work, my art, my new film. Instead, you ambushed me with gossip and rumors designed to tear down my reputation. And when I defended myself, with facts, with truth, with the reality of what I've experienced, you told me I was overreacting. The cameras captured every word, every gesture, every emotion playing across both women's faces." "You know what, Kelly?" Salma said, reaching down to unclip her microphone. "This conversation perfectly illustrates everything that's wrong with how women like me are treated in this industry. We're expected to be grateful for whatever scraps we're thrown. And when we demand more, when we demand better, we're labeled as problems." "Salma, please don't leave," Kelly said, finally understanding the gravity of what was happening. "Let's talk about this. Let's have a real conversation." Salma paused, looking directly at Kelly. "We could have had a real conversation. You could have asked me about my journey, about the barriers I've overcome, about the doors I've opened for other Latina actresses. You could have asked me about my craft, my passion, my dedication to telling stories that matter." "We can still do that," Kelly said desperately. "No, Kelly, we can't," Salma replied, standing and smoothing her dress with quiet grace, "because you've shown me and everyone watching exactly how you see me. Not as an accomplished actress, not as a woman who has broken barriers and paved the way for others, but as a difficult diva whose success needs to be questioned and whose character needs to be examined." The silence in the studio was deafening. Salma walked toward the edge of the set, then turned back one final time. "You want to know the truth about being difficult?" she asked, addressing not just Kelly, but the cameras, the audience, and everyone who would eventually watch this moment. "The truth is that difficult women change the world. We open doors that were locked. We speak truths that need to be heard. We refuse to accept that less than we deserve is enough." Kelly made one last attempt to salvage the situation. "Salma, I respect everything you've accomplished. I really do. Can we please start over?" Salma's smile was sad but resolute. "Kelly, respect isn't something you can claim after you've shown its absence. Respect is earned through actions, not words spoken in damage control. She moved toward the exit, her heels clicking against the studio floor in a rhythm that echoed through the stunned silence. "And for what it's worth," Salma added, pausing at the edge of the stage, "I hope someday you understand that interviewing someone means learning about them, not trying to diminish them. There's a difference between journalism and gossip, between holding people accountable and tearing them down." With those final words, Salma Hayek walked off the Kelly Clarkson show, leaving behind a studio full of people who had just witnessed something unprecedented. Something real. Kelly sat alone in her chair, staring at the empty space where one of Hollywood's most respected actresses had delivered a masterclass in dignity, strength, and the true cost of standing up for yourself in an industry that often punishes women for refusing to stay small. The raw power of that moment, the unscripted truth of it, created a silence that spoke louder than any applause ever could. So, what do you think happened here? Was Salma right to walk off? Or should she have stayed to work through the conflict? Let me know in the comments below.